speaking of AG, let's talk a little bit more about gold's extremely lustrous cousin. You know, the shiniest of all metals, silver, has lagged gold in recent months. It was particularly hit hard by some of those deflationary concerns. You know, that scared off a lot of investors. My guess is the Magama would say that's presenting quite an interesting contrarian opportunity.
It certainly is.
That's kind of the long-winded way of saying it's a discount.
It is more pithy now that you mention it.
Not quite terse enough for the Magaba. But what I wanted you to kind of elaborate on is just what you see as a value opportunity here. What underpinnings and fundamentals could send silver higher? And, of course, we're sitting on tenterhooks waiting for the Magambo's silver forecast.
Well, pull up a chair, clear your schedule for the next couple of hours, because the bullish case for silver, it just goes on and on, and it's relentless.
We're all ears.
What we have today in the United States is all electrical things have to have silver, and we use a lot of silver mirrors and blah, 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 in the photography industry, blah, blah. We have used up all the silver there is. All the stuff above ground, all the strategic stockpiles, it's all gone, supplying what we came up with. Now, China, the same size as us together, is going to want that same level of silver usage. And there isn't enough to go around now. Before China even gets out of bed on their demand for silver, we're out. That's one thing. Right off, if that doesn't compel you, I mean, I could go on for hours and hours about this.
I think you hit that nail on the head. Little things like the keyboard in front of your computer filled with silver, the light switches on the wall, computers, your cell phone, little things, tiny little incremental amounts of silver. We throw it away, not to mention it's hard to reclaim these tiny amounts, so we throw away tons of this stuff every year, don't we? And that doesn't come back anytime soon.
It doesn't come back. You know, they say that all the gold that's ever been mined is still out there somewhere, and probably you can put your hand on it if you try hard enough.
So silver sounds very good there, but there's another side to this story. There hasn't really been a silver-based currency since mid-60s. Everyone just gave up on any type of bimetallic standard, but at some point, all the gold, as you say, it's going to be gone. It's going to be in Jim Rogers' safe and the Magambo bunker.
I think that is a ceteris paribus, all things being equal kind of scenario. It's entirely possible. But let me tell you that while that is entirely possible and probably very probable, if everybody gets back to the gold standard, which it will take a gigantic upheaval of the world economic and financial setup to get back to a gold standard. I mean, just losses everywhere, starting from scratches, rising from the ashes, phoenix-like. But silver is it should be selling now for $60, $70 an ounce based on its historical ratio to gold, which is about 15, 16 to 1. Silver should be selling, what, $80 bucks, maybe somewhere in there. It's selling for less than 20. We've had the last 4,000 years, this ratio has hovered around there somewhere. 15, 16, sometimes 30, sometimes less, but edging back to the norm. And yet it's selling for less than 20 bucks an ounce. That's embarrassing. And people aren't buying it. We think we're the smartest people on the planet. The
other interesting aspect, I think, on this, we're looking at the potential of much higher precious metals, but gold has recently eclipsed its 1980s peak. Silver has not eclipsed its $50 or so peak. We adjust it for inflation. Some folks say it's really closer to $100 an ounce.
Yes. I mean, all these things, because silver is the biggest screaming buy out there. It's hard for me to get more bullish about the case for silver.
So how should people who would like to get their hands on silver, what would be the way for the typical person to start accumulating this precious metal?
You buy an ounce. Or you put some in your portfolio in 1 ounce. Then you go to bed. You wake up tomorrow and you think about, do I have enough? If the answer is no, go out and buy another ounce, put it in there. Go to bed, wake up the next day. Think about how much you got, 2 ounces. Is that enough? No. Go out and buy some more. And one day, you keep going, no, adding more and more and more until one day you wake up and say, yes, I have enough. That's how you know what percentage your portfolio should be in silver.
How much would you say, percentage-wise, does the Magambo keep in his portfolio bunker?
I would say about 1 to 1 with gold.
So how about precious metals on a whole? Would you say 15, 20% would be a conservative percentage?
I guess that would be a conservative percentage, sure. But I am of the opinion you're all in for a penny, in for a pound. Nothing else is going to prosper. So if you put in 20% into gold and silver, because I don't want to put 20% in silver and gold. If you got some other 80% that's going to do better than that.
I've got your answer. Gold and silver equities.
There you go. Gold and silver. Now, those are an interesting play right there. I don't know much about them, and I have them through mutual funds.
That's a very wise way to own them.
Yeah. And it saves me a whole lot of research.
Yeah. Let them do the work.
Let somebody else do the work, indeed.
All right. Well, Richard, very interesting.